Well, I had a very interesting experience. I do not remember exactly what prompted it, but I was doing some research and I came across a blog written by a man who coaches up-and-coming country singers about their concerts. And by the way, Robert, do we remember to push play right
Yes.
there? Very good, okay. The man's job is to take new talent and prepare them to go on the road. And one of the issues he deals with is many of the up-and-coming country singers think that when they go out and do concerts, it's about singing. They have the idea that they go out and sing their songs, and why do they need to be trained? They go sing, everybody's going to love their music, and that's that. And the man explains to them that no, a concert is an entirely different thing. It's not about the music. And here was his word, first part of his word. He said, people do not come to a concert just to hear someone sing. If that's all they want, they would stay home and listen to the songs on the radio, download the music, or purchase CDs. So if people don't go to a concert to hear people sing, why do they go? I was amazed and really challenged, you might say mentally provoked, by his answer. It was the last thing I expected, but in a sense it was a great revelation for me. He said, people go to a concert for a relational experience. And he added to that, he said essentially they go for three reasons. They go to be captivated and engaged, they go to experience a moment, and they go because they want to have their lives changed. Now let me say those things again, because that sounds like ministry, doesn't it?
Yeah.
They go to be captivated and engaged, they go to have a moment, they go because they want to have their lives changed. Well, I was really impressed by how this man expressed himself, but I thought, do other people say this? So I began to research the whole realm of music, and I discovered it time and time again, and that is if it's just a blog and people are saying, why do you go to shows? If it's somebody who teaches psychology and has researched the matter, they always say, people go for the social experience. They're there in person because they value an experience involving other human beings, and they want to make connections with other human beings. And think about it. If it wasn't for the human element, they would stay home. They would just listen to it on their digital device. But they've gone in person because it's a personal thing. Well, I see this as a profound concept for performers and entertainers to understand, and I believe it applies far beyond music. And that is, people do not come to our shows to witness a display of our talent. And if we're thinking that way, we are guilty of a great misconception, and we're probably not being very successful in our shows. If we think everybody's there to see how cool I am, how good I am, how many cards I can backpalm. If we think that's why they're there, we need to think again. The reason they are there is they want that human interaction that accompanies and surrounds what the performer is able to do. And I thought that this was a great insight and something that we should try to explore together today. So we're going to look at the three main things he said. They go to be captivated and engaged, they go to experience a moment, they go to have their lives changed. And we're going to think more deeply about each one of those things, and we're also going to try to illustrate it with magic or other sorts of activities. So number one, people go to shows to be captivated and engaged. The reason we did that is that was something that had the whole audience involved, and as he mentioned, it's a technique Penn and Teller used. It seems like anyone who's really a successful entertainer understands this issue we're dealing with, which is the matter of engaging the audience. According to the dictionary, remember that the man said that the audiences need to be captivated and engaged. Captivated means having one's interest or attention held or captured by something, someone charming, beautiful, entertaining, etc. But the point in that definition is you have the one who is captivated and you have the one who's causing the captivation. It's a relationship. It's a two-part experience. And then the other word he used was engaged, and engaged simply means involved in activity. A spectator is not engaged. A person says, I don't want to be involved, I want to be a spectator. They want to step back and watch. Whereas a person who is involved is actually, or engaged I should say, is participating in what's going on. Well, here's to me a revelation for us as performers. We should not be thinking of our audience members as spectators. Because according to this man who teaches the concert artists, and many others who would concur, people, when they come to a show, don't want to be spectators. They want to be involved. They want to be participants. Now, this doesn't mean that they want to get up on stage, that they want to be embarrassed. A lot of people, that's the last thing in the world they want. And it doesn't mean that they even want to be noticed in the sense that somebody calls out their name or points them out. But it does mean they want to feel like they are a part of what is going on. That somehow this is an experience where they are part of the group. It's sort of like in high school, the kids who are desperate to be accepted by the other kids, that sort of thing. Well, this isn't desperate to be accepted, but rather it's just that good feeling that, yep, I belong to these people. I know what's going on here. I can sort of have a sense of identity relating to this. So the question is, how do we do this? How do we make people feel like they are participants rather than just spectators? And I've got a list of about, I think, 5 things that we can do, and I think actually it's much easier to accomplish this than you might think. Number 1 is by using tricks that directly get the audience involved. Now let me quickly explain. There's a difference between audience involvement and picking volunteers. Volunteers, that is not audience involvement. It's interesting, we call it audience participation, but it's not. It's volunteer appreciation. The 1 or 2 people you picked are participating, everyone else is still spectating. So what we have to learn how to accomplish is not just getting some volunteers on stage, but things that take people from spectating to participating as they are still in their seats. For example, it is time for a Christian game show. Let's hear a little game show crowd enthusiasm. Let folks know we are going to have a good time now. Like any game show, Christian game show included, we have to have people involved, some people to come on down. So let's venture out into the audience and find somebody who can't wait to join us on. Is that why you're getting up? Perfect. That's really fine. Yeah, we've got a gentleman over here, and we get to hear from them as well, and listen to the crowd and greet them. And because this is set up for a lecture, it's kind of a mess. I'll have to you stand side by side. And your name is?
KJ.
This is KJ. Where are you from, KJ?
Springfield.
Anybody else out there know where Springfield, Missouri might happen to be? We've got a couple people from Springfield, a couple people who don't want to admit whatever. I know what's going on. And your name is?
Craig.
And Craig, where are you from?
Kabul.
Kabul what?
Missouri.
How many are here from Missouri? We got some. You don't want to admit that either. Now, I'll explain what's going to happen here. We have some pictures. Pictures on the back of number cards. I'll show you the pictures later. But first, notice the numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 numbers on the front, pictures on the back. We'll get to them in a moment first. Each of you is going to select a number, and we're going to do it the most interesting style. Very interesting. I can't find a number bag. Here it is. Somewhere over here, I have a bag of numbers. Oh, right in front of me. No wonder I can't find it. Okay. It's a lecture. I don't usually have a lectern in the show. So here we go. In the bag are numbers. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And that's the pictures. So KJ, and you can go. KJ, you go first. Hold it dry. The bag. Whatever number you pick, we use first. All right. Second, okay. Now to get a 2, you have to put it back. You got right, anything but a 2. Let's see what he picks. You got a what? A 5. So the numbers chosen were a 2 and a 5. We put them on the display. Not the 1, we picked the 2, right? So it's right there. You had the 5, not the 3, not the 4, but the 5. It goes right there. Now in a moment, we're going to see how well they played the game. We're going to let them go back to their seats before we make that discovery. I'll take the numbers from you. And this gives you a chance to do a little bow. The audience can let you know how much they appreciate it. Thank you so much. You were awesome. So let's take a look at the numbers they didn't select. This is going to be a big disappointment because Kim, who was first, did not select a 1. Had she selected a 1, she would have had horses. Oh, isn't that exciting? That's, by the way, I should tell you the name of this game show. It's called Life is a Puzzle because for a lot of people, life seems to be a puzzle. They don't know why they're in this world. They don't know where they're going to go when life is over. They don't know what it's about. So we have an actual purpose with our game show. We want to find some answers to the puzzling aspects of life. Horses are cool, but they're not the answer. But you didn't select that. And Craig, you didn't pick a 3. Look at that. Hey, you picked a 3. You would have had pretty flowers. Do I hear an ooh? Yeah, do I hear an ah? I love this sincere expressions of passion out there. Now, I hear people who think that, flower power, getting tuned in nature, that's what life's about, but there's got to be more to life than that. Neither one of you picked this. Oh my. Had you picked this, you would have had yellow stars. You heard people who seem to think the answers to life are found in the stars, astrology, all of that. No, that's not where we find the answers. But you didn't pick those. You were first with a 2, you were second with a 5. We have a display over here. In just a moment, we're going to turn the display around and see if possibly you found something that would help folks understand the meaning of life and solve the puzzling questions that relate to the biggest questions or issues of life. But we're going to turn this around in style. I'm going to ask for a drum roll. You're going to all pat your knees. Not yet, but in a moment you get to do it. And when I turn that around, if KJ and Craig did a good job, we are going to cut loose with wild applause, hooting, the hollering, clapping, and cheering. If they did a good job, but only if they did a good job. Do I hear a drum roll, please? And I say 3, 2, 1. What do you think? Did they possibly make some How did that happen? Let me explain. This is not an actual picture of Jesus. Nobody knows what he really looked like. But it's the traditional picture to remind us of this personality. What matters is knowing who Jesus is. Jesus is Lord. Jesus is the one who gives us everlasting hope. He's the one who gives life meaning. If you want to know why you're in this world, what life is about, and live a life that's really worth living, you always find the answer in Jesus Christ. And once again, let's let Kim and Craig know we appreciate your help. Okay. I feel like I'm a tad off my game because I'm lecturing and performing at the same time, and I'm not into the usual rhythm of things, but I trust you get the idea. That was audience volunteers by way of Kim and Craig, so I got 2 people on stage. But it was more than that because we called it the game show thing, and we get the crowd trying to express game show crowd enthusiasm, so we're trying to get the whole group involved on that level. And then I asked for oohs and ahs, doing my best to get people to enter into what's going on, and typically they do. At the end, we do the drum roll. Everybody's doing the drum roll. And of course, we set it up. If they get it right, there will be wild applause, hooting, hollering, clapping, and cheering. So the whole point of that particular routine is exactly what we're talking about, to make the audience feel a part of what's going on. This routine is one of the first things I came up with when I started in Gospel Magic many, many years ago. And it's ever so simple, but it plays wonderfully and really does the job. As far as getting people going, this is a Clearview force bag, an invention of U.F. Grant. And I've already, there they are. I almost fooled myself with where I put the numbers, but it's so clever. I mean, who would suspect that a magician would do something with a plastic bag? I mean, who would be so low down and sneaky as to gimmick a plastic bag? But it is actually 3 bags put together, and that's what makes it so strong. In the front, the numbers are all different. 1s, 2s, 3s, 4s, and 5s. In the middle compartment, they're all 2s. And in the back compartment, they're all 5s. So KJ's going to get a 2, and Craig is going to get a 5 no matter what. I always say to Craig, if you get a 2, you'll have to put it back, because if accidentally he did, I'd make him put it back. But the idea is that I know what they're going to choose. But since it's not just, if it was just one choice, people would assume, well, they must have been all the same. You know, the trick wouldn't be very strong if it was one. But because it's 2 choices, they say, well, they didn't get the same numbers, they both reached in the bag, So it takes all the heat off the bag. It couldn't be the bag, they each got a different number. And then of course we go over here, and I will tell you that I put a lot of thought into the visual psychology, and after experimenting, discovered that the 5 above the 2 seems to be the most random in appearing. You know, if you had like a 1 over a 2, or if you had them in order, and also it seemed like if the bigger number's on the bottom, then it creates a little bit more of a suspicion of, well, he knew that was going to happen, he made that happen. This gives more of a random look and makes people wonder how in the world did you come up with the pieces that make the right picture. So enough said about the trick, but we are talking about doing things that go beyond just the individual on stage. And I'm not saying that all of the magic needs to happen in the audience. As you said when we discussed why people go to a show, they want to see the spectacle, they want to see the showmanship, they want to be amazed. They certainly want you to perform for them. But somehow in the process, we need to do these different things that make the audience feel like we're getting to know them, they're getting to know us. And to me, the simplest way to say it is we have to figure out a way to get rid of the here's me and here's you. And instead, here is us. This is us. Sounds like a TV show, doesn't it? But anyway, that's what we're trying to accomplish. I was going to mention that I do a routine of mutilated parasol, which is very similar to life as a puzzle as far as I have the crowd go ooh, they go ah, they go oh my, they clap at the right time, almost like the old-fashioned melodrama, those of you who are familiar with those kind of presentations. And it's been a great tool for getting the audience involved. Lauren was out with the phone and having different people plug in the numbers, but they didn't have to get out of their seats. They could stay right where they are and still be a part of the show. Let's quickly talk about this and then we'll take our break. A second way to accomplish this is sucker tricks. And this is something that you may not have thought about, and it is one of the reasons sucker tricks are so valuable. People tend to speak disparagingly of them, but they are tremendous for an audience involvement. And let's give an example of that. Please do what the kids would do. Let me hit the music. There we go. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, time for the magic circus. Under the big top, amazing things happen. I don't usually have this in front of me, I'll get it out of the way. And today you're about to see the most amazing thing of all. For at our circus, we have a ringmaster. When people see the ringmaster, they get excited. That's right. We have a dancing horse. When they see the dancing horse, they get most excited when they see the elephant. And why do they get most excited? Not for the whoops. Okay, another trick wasn't set properly. Now, why do they get most excited? For the ringmaster, or not for the ringmaster, not for the horse, but for the elephant. Why? Because they know the elephant is about to disappear. That's right. This elephant before your very eyes is going to disappear. It happens in the circus tent. Into the tent it goes. Everybody aims your hands, wiggle your fingers. Just like that, the elephant is gone. I shall demonstrate. The dancing horse is still there. The dancing horse is excited. Why is it excited? Because it knows the elephant has disappeared. The ringmaster says in his big voice, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I told you, the elephant is going to disappear. What's left? No, not the elephant. Take a look. Unbelievably, the elephant is gone. It has completely. Yes, I will turn it around. It's not on the back of the tent.
The other one.
Sorry about that. I misunderstood. We'll turn the card around. It says, I did. I turned it this way.
The back side.
On my back?
Yeah.
Is there an elephant on my back? There's no elephant on my back. It is gone. What? You want to see back here? I want to show you back there. Okay, I will. You're very clever, folks. You're very clever. Because you understand even the clown is excited about the fact that the elephant really is G-O-N-E. Thank you for doing what the kids do. Boy, last night, those of you who weren't here, I forgot what Bruce said about 4 tricks. Well, okay, there was number 5. We'll just keep count as we go through the lecture here. Okay, but what we're talking about here is audience involvement. And so with that, we've got the kids saying, turn it around, no, the other way. All the kids are saying this. And they're all pointing. And adults, although they may not shout, turn it around, and you get all the gags, they're all kind of looking at each other, and they're all having the same acknowledgement. You know, we know what he's doing. It's not such a good trick. It's pulling every one of them in. So my suggestion is that it doesn't just have to be a silly trick. It can be some of the classics that you do with kids, but I think more sophisticated sucker tricks for adults still accomplish the same thing of making the people feel part of a group because they feel like they're all in on it. What are some classic sucker effects? What came to my mind are die box, hippie hop rabbits, silk eggs, a little more sophisticated, but very good as far as getting grown-ups to think that they know what's going on. Vanishing Coke bottle, a little more sophisticated. Fraidy cat rabbit. I don't think I spelled Fraidy right, did I? Fraidy, right? You know, that's the Italian version. But anyway, I use sucker tricks in every show. Now I'm very careful never to make them put downs. That's why with this, we use this in our struggle about the theme park for years. But at the end, the card comes out and says gone. Well, the original version of this, on the other side, in fact, it didn't say gone, it said wrong. And then you would turn it over and it said wrong again. Any of you ever remember how those tricks used to be made that way? It was like saying, you think you know how it's done, you're wrong. Oh, you think you really caught me? Well, you're really a loser. You're wrong again. And so you're essentially saying to the audience, you're all a bunch of fools. Well, that's not good audience relationship. And as a Christian, that's not how I treat people. So I always try to change it so almost a compliment. I say, oh, you want to see the back? I know why. Because you know the clown's just as excited as we are that the elephant really did disappear. So it takes the sting out of it, but it still allows me to have all of the sucker emphasis. I put this together, just another one. Robert and I do this on stage. And I didn't warn him about it, so I'll just do it for you.
Oh, okay. Well, I need to come up there?
I didn't. We really didn't have a chance to set it. You want to go ahead and do it?
Yeah.
All right, come on up. So we have, I don't know if all of you know, but along with the music show, we've done a country music show for the last couple of years in the summers on Sunday nights. So pretend like you didn't see this. And so Robert comes out, and one of the things Robert does during the course of the show is he pesters me about wanting to do magic tricks.
Even when we're not doing a show.
And I'm always
Oh, I was supposed to say that out loud.
I'm always trying to tell him, no, you can't do a magic trick. So Robert, why are you here?
I got a magic trick.
You got a magic trick?
Yeah.
That doesn't look like a magic trick, it looks like your lunch.
You got a magic trick.
What? Well, that's a bottle of Coke, that's not a magic trick.
I'm gonna make it vanish.
You're what?
Yeah, just like that.
You're gonna make a whole bottle of...
No. It's back.
No, you claimed it vanished.
Yeah, see?
No.
It vanished.
It did not
And
vanish.
it's back.
No, it did not, no, it did not. We all know what you did.
What?
You're just holding onto the bottle, you turn it upside down like, you should go ahead and show us, see, you can turn it over.
Vanished.
Yep, so no, it's still in there.
Then
You're
it's back. See?
No, you're just hanging on to that, Robert. That's not a good trick.
What?
No, you need to go back to drawing board. If you're going to do magic in our show, you need to have a trick that's better than that.
Okay.
Off he goes, and we go on to the next thing. So, all right. So thank you, Robert, for doing your job well there. So.
Look, I brought Coke to life. All right.
But anyway, it's sucker a little different way in that everybody thinks they know what's going on. You know, that they know what Robert's doing when he turns upside down, and of course, in the end, everybody's surprised. But when you think about it, what I'm trying to say is that really does help create the group experience because everybody's kind of acknowledging with the people around them. Well, we know what's going on. I didn't have a chance to show this to Robert, but I recently saw a guy do this in a totally different way that I was quite impressed with. He had the bottle this way, and he put the bag on it upside down. And he said, watch carefully. It's gone. Back.
Well, we might need to do that one.
Yeah,
instead.
yeah,
That's a good
it's
one.
carefully gone.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Press,
Yeah.
you crunch it up and toss it away.
That's a good one.
So anyway, I discovered we can only sit so long. We're just getting into this material. But what we're discussing is how to get the audience involved, and we've said there are tricks that literally get the audience involved. We want those. Sucker tricks are good for it. Just show you the Coke bottle. The next thing we're going to do is talk about questions everyone can answer. But before we get into those, let's take 10 minutes. Mary's got snacks put out. Get something to
And the
drink.
water is thawed.
The water is thawed. And then come back and we'll get into part 3.